you ready to meet Elio himself? Welcome, Yonas Kibreab. Yonas Kibreab. I'm very excited to be able to say yours because I've been a big fan of this actor for many, many years now. Please welcome Academy Award winner Zoe Saldaña. It's also a great pleasure to be able to say these words. Please welcome Academy Award winner Domee Shi, director. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for producer Mary Alice Drumm. Well, first of all, you know, it hit me. I was talking to Yonas just before we walked out here. So the year is 2025. That means that we are in the year of the 30th anniversary of Pixar. The first Toy Story movie opened, I think, in June of 1995. Here you are opening in June of 2025. So let's give it up for Pixar 30th anniversary. How this came about, what it made Elio the perfect next step in the Pixar animated process.
Yeah, so we were Pixar's directors for their ideas for films, and our agent Melina was first director on the film, and he pitched, what if the world's weirdest 11-year-old was accidentally abducted and taken to space? And then Maddie and Domee came on and kind of said, but he always wanted to be abducted, but he was obsessed with space. And then the more we asked about why, we were like, you know, why does this boy want to go to space? And we really touched into like loneliness and started talking about our teens, just a theme that resonates. So it's this wacky space adventure with this theme about reaching out and connection.
So, listen, this is your second feature as a director, second animated feature of Pixar. Trying to remember was first. But this time you were working with Maddie. What was that process like to work as co-director?
It was amazing to have a partner in crime in Madeline, Sharafian. We worked together on Turning Red. She was my story lead. We have a lot of similar tastes. We grew up watching the same animated movies. We have the same kind of passion for film and animation and storytelling. And we both really connected with the character of Elio. I think, you know, we drew from our own experiences being the leader of our kids in our own hometowns. And for me, like, I remember just being so obsessed with the idea of getting into animation school. It was my dream, it was my drive, and I ate and slept and just like thought about getting there because I just wanted to go to a place where I felt like I could belong. I really wanted to find my people, and that's kind of the emotion that's driving Elio. That's what we drew on, that inspired kind of his journey to get into space to meet aliens. So it is like a wacky space adventure, but yeah, like you really enjoy watching this boy learn how to connect with other people, and I feel like that's kind of what happens in real life too. Like when you follow your passion, you somehow find your people.
Madeline, Sharafian, I would love to hear, this is the first time that you were actually in the director's chair. What was that process like for you? And tell me about your collaborative process.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, directing a feature at Pixar is terrifying. The stakes are very high. I mean, I grew up on these Pixar movies and they changed my life. Very similarly to Domee, I wanted nothing more than to work at Pixar, so I made that my goal my whole childhood. So I had all this added pressure from my own past. So I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. I'm finally here. But for me, I think what helped the most was watching Domee do the job first on Turning Red. That made a really big difference to me. I never thought that being a director was even an option for me. When I was younger, women weren't directing animation. So watching Domee do it inspired me to just, stay true to what I liked. And I'm really proud that we got to make this movie together.
Well, the movie's title is Elio. So how did you go about the process of finding the perfect Elio? Again, let's hear the
I think it was a big shout out for our casting team. You can imagine this film is based on Elio, and so finding a kid that could carry this film is a large assignment. But we heard Yonas in one of the first batches that he was much younger. So at first we were like, we're not sure, but these films evolve. So first he came in some scratch, and then I think after a while we're like, he's so amazing. And then he became our Elio.
Yeah, I feel like you could actually be the ambassador, or you're so impressive. Yeah. Or you could fake it till you make it. It's full of so much energy, like you do embody that character just so well.
So this is a big movie, it's a Pixar movie, so what was the process like for you, and how did you work with your directors, producers to really get who Elio is?
And I think the process was, it was pretty long, but it was a fun process. I mean, I got the audition, and originally it had nothing, it did say Pixar on it, and it did say Elio. It was like an untitled project. I recorded this audition from my parents' closet, and yeah, I just submitted the audition, and I didn't hear back for a while, like a month. Like, wow, they just tested me. But then I heard a month later for a callback. I'm like, wow, that was a long time. But yeah, I got that callback, and I think there was a few auditions in between. It was so long ago. I think it was when I was
11.
11? Yeah. And now I'm turning 15 soon.
Yay!
So.
Wow! Happy birthday! Zoe, when you first read the script and you first spoke to your producers and directors, what was it about Aunt Olga that you really connected to? How did you understand and relate and connect to Aunt Olga?
Well, I think I connected more to Elio at first. Being a child that lost a parent at a very early age, I certainly was able to sympathize with Elio's feelings of isolation, but also with his bravery. Elio felt to me like such a brave little boy that, among all this adversity and the volumes of pain that he just can't describe, and he doesn't know where to move all that pain, he doesn't even know what's going on with him, he still has this courage to be abducted. It's like, well, then if it's not here, there's going to be somewhere else. And I just think, that was so beautiful about him. I was never like Elio. I wish I would have been like, no, I'm going to go to space. No, I just went to 3rd grade. It was hard. Right, that's life, exactly. With Olga, having the opportunity to put into Olga the uncertainty of parenting. I certainly feel like an aunt sometimes to my own children. Like when they wake up and they're so determined and they have their thoughts and they have their opinions, now they're 10, 10, and 8. And when I fail hard, I feel really, really bad sometimes, and I feel like such a fraud with them. And I always wake up the next day and I'm like, I'm gonna do it better. I'm gonna love them harder. And sometimes you just have to do what Olga, realizes in the end. You don't have to understand your kids. You just have to love them.
Oh,
and so any chance that I get to relate to my children by being a part of stories that move them, I'm gonna take it. And obviously Pixar is also my childhood dream as well to be a part of.
Absolutely. It's got to be a dream to be a part of a Pixar film. And for you, Rob, your career as a composer, I'm a big fan of 500 Days of Summer, just FYI. But more recently, doing films like Deadpool, Wolverine, big films like that versus like The Whale, which is much more intimate film. But this is a Pixar movie. So what was sort of your entry point to take on that challenge?
Well, when I first saw the film, there was a bit of a 10 track there, and there were some pieces of mine that were pretty intimate pieces and piano driven with a lot of kind of synthesize atmospheric, ethereal washes with very simple piano stuff. And I've done that since I can remember, sitting at the piano, just plucking out simple melodies, things that kind of just interested me and moved me. And so hearing some of those pieces as like touch points for the 10th track made me feel like, okay, there's something that I'm doing that they're hearing, that they're responding to. And so the water felt very warm, and similarly to what others had said, I was always looking up at the sky growing up. I grew up in Colorado, and the stars there are incredible. Driving up to the mountains, camping, and just looking up and wondering, and longing to see something or feel something. And a lot of those moments are really inspiring to me, and kind of where I often pull from. So this seemed very natural for me. And but of course, you have a huge canvas and lots of laughs and lots of big set pieces. So there were the simple piano melodies that we wanted as the core, but then we were blowing it out.
The heart of the film, I mean, it's an epic film. You got all this other world, universe, these aliens, but at the heart of the movie is a relationship between and Neff. But so as directors and producers, how do you strike the right balance between capturing that all-inspiring space sci-fi epic and really not losing the heart, which this movie has a very big heart?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just so, I just feel so lucky that we were able to work with such a talented crew and such a talented cast. And I'm just gonna like gush over Zoe specifically for the character of Olga. I feel like the sessions that we had with you, like you added so much of yourself and like your like insecurities as a parent, your triumphs, your failures, like you weren't afraid to share them with us and to infuse it into the character. And she's Dominican as well, which like you helped so much like craft that aspect of her. It's a subtle, very important part of the character. I'm so glad we were able to represent it. You picked the song out that like Olga, like, oh, I love that song in the car with the phone. It's like, oh, it just like those little details just add so much depth to the character and made Olga just feel like a real person who's trying her best. And like working on Turning Red, I know how important it is, like when we're crafting these like these kind of like intense scenes that are arguments between a parent and a child. Like we have to approach the argument from both sides too. Like it's hard to it can be easy for an argument to look one-sided, but I think like you were always so good at like being honest, like calling us out when it's like I don't know if Olga should say, like, if Olga would, or if I would say that to my kid in that way, and then you would, like, suggest, like, another one from your own experience, so that was just amazing, just to be able to do it that way. Yeah,
I would want to hear from Zoe, from your point of view about that, about saying, well, I think Olga would say this, or I think you should say that, like that you obviously really connected with the character, you have confidence to be like, oh, I think that she would say this.
But I do believe that Domee, Maddie, and Mary Alice provided a very collaborative environment from the beginning. I certainly did not go with that expectation because I know that when I voiced animation before, and a lot of it has already been designed and has been planned, and you can only come and maybe your contribution or just the small strokes of intonation that you can say to each line by giving them some variety, right? This time, I jumped on a little late in the process, and yet there was so much room for collaboration. So I just felt really great.
Yeah, I would love you're going to talk about your work, working with your directors, and how they help you, through the process over these 4 years, basically, of making this movie. That's a long time. Like, what was that like for you?
It was a great experience. I think with Maddie and Domee, there's been times with other directors where it can be hard to understand what they're trying to tell me, because I'm still a kid, and they use big words. So I'm like, guys, I don't know what they're saying. But I feel like with Maddie and Domee, like, they explained it to me in ways that I can understand, and I feel like it was so easy, and it clicked in my brain, like, oh, okay, they want it like this. And I just want to thank you guys for helping me with that.
You're so amazing.
I actually want to just compliment you too. There's a moment I remember where, I mean, you're so fantastic at the high energy work, and Elio has to do a lot of that across the film. But there's a scene near the very end that you guys saw where Elio needs to cry, and I remember it was such an amazing moment. I felt so proud of you, where you excused yourself, you left the room, and then you came back and you tapped into something, and you were ready to go. And I'd never seen you do that before, and I was so impressed with just the depth of your talent. So we're very lucky to have you.
Thank you.
You remember that moment?
Well, see, now that you say it in detail,
He's gonna lose his aura right now.
I remember it so clearly.
You know, one of the things I love about the film, it's an epic scale, it's sci-fi, it's adventurous, you know, there's also a lot of humor, and a very big heart. Rob, how did you sort of balance, to sort of touch all these tones, but still, you know, keep it at the heart of it?
Well, we cracked the Elio theme pretty early on and knew that that would be something that we'd hear with the orchestra, very grand. It would also be something in really intimate moments that we would hear. And then there were subsequent themes that came around that thread through the whole thing. And there's a lot of, there's like almost a techno dance funk number in the middle of the film. It's all driven by thematic material, and so for me, there's a river of kind of familiarity that goes through all of these twists and turns that we have to have big scale, but you know, the universe theme that we hear when the universe is revealed and Elio's jaw drops, that's the same sound that we're hearing as the signal is coming through when they're hearing a response from the universe. And there's this whole concept of a signal going out and something coming back. And that is between Elio and Olga, it's between Elio and Gordon, and that just kind of as a concept helped me at least kind of know where we need to be and what the transmission is, what the meaning of the scene is. And Maddie and Domee and Mary Alice and the whole team, they are Pixar people. I mean, as you just saw, they are very astute studies of facial expressions. And there's so much of this film that, of course, is amazing vocal talents, but to see someone wince, and it's like, oh, I know what that feels like, I know that facial expression. And the specificity is incredible. And this is the first time I've really done an animated film like this, and it's like, wow, these performances, who did they get to do these performances? And it's animators, but I think everyone in Pixar knows that that is the currency of animation. And so, you know, these guys were very adept at giving just the right amount of guidance. And also, as Zoe was saying, a lot of room. And so I was always given a lot of room to play, and it was very warm. And Pixar is a place where a lot of ideas are encouraged to be shared, and I really felt that.
So let's talk about that Pixar. The bar is here, and the bar has Pixar's name on it when it comes to feature animation. You worked as a associate producer of Coco, and you did Dinosaur, but you also worked as part of this brain trust here on like Toy Story 4 and last year in Inside Out 2. So what over these years, especially within a part of the Pixar team, made Elio different? What are the unique producing challenges that you all face with Elio?
Wow, yeah, I think so much is similar in all the films. The things that I think would be different is having the opportunity to work with two directors that were so aligned, like Domee and Maddie. I think sometimes other studios will do like kind of arranged marriages of two directors together. These two people are friends, they're creatively really aligned. And then I think just, all Pixar movies are always late. Of course, we always we're the latest one. So we push our collaboration a little bit more than other films have. We put all our supervisors in one room and call it a college project. And as Joey was saying, sometimes it felt like we were actually just friends in a basement working, making the movie together. Even though we had hundreds of people. But it's probably one of those collaborative films, if you've ever worked that way.
And how did your experience already working on Turning Red sort of help you go further, take bigger chances, bigger swings on Elio?
I guess since I've done it before, I knew that this was going to be just as difficult and messy, and I was preparing Maddie for it at every moment. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be painful, it's gonna be uncomfortable, but it's supposed to feel this
I
way.
remember you took me by the shoulder and you were like, you don't know. You don't know what's coming. I don't know.
I'm not gonna tell you until it actually happens. No, I mean, like Mary Alice said, every film at Pixar has its own set of challenges, new sets of problems to solve, new discoveries, and this was a whole new way of working for me, because this is the first time that I kind of parachuted into a project that was already kind of halfway through production. But I felt so honored that Adrian Molina entrusted Madeline and me to kind of take over his project and take it home as he started up Coco 2. Like Mary Alice said, it was super collaborative, super iterative. Some moments were really, really hard. When you're trying to get a scene to work, you're trying to get a reaction out of audiences. You're trying to get them to cry, damn you, cry, laugh. This is such a funny joke, right? And then you just get dead silence. You're like, oh my gosh, you go back to the drawing board, try again. But everybody at the studio is just so passionate about filmmaking, about people walking away from our movies changed and feeling like they've gone on a journey themselves and they've grown in some way. So I just had an amazing experience on this one.
I want to ask Maddie about the production design of the film, and especially the animation supervisor when it came to designing all these aliens. I mean, talk about imagination.
Yeah, I mean, we're very lucky. We had the illustrious Harley Jessup as our production designer, who did Coco, Ratatouille, and one of my personal favorites, Monsters, Inc., way back when. So he's incredible, and he's very used to designing worlds that you would only dream of as a kid. He kind of has a childlike imagination even now. And his goal was to design a version of space, a version of sci-fi that we had never seen before. We've already done 2 sci-fi films at Pixar before. And so he wanted to completely, try new things, make space friendly, make the aliens feel organic and unusual but colorful, because more than anything it had to be a version of space that was aspirational, that Elio would never want to leave. And our animation supervisors had a big challenge in front of them, because I don't know how much you guys know about animation, but having characters with completely different movement styles is very difficult because every single one of them had to be carefully crafted. You could never copy and paste a movement from one alien design to the next. They were all so different. But animators love it. They're so advanced at this point. Any challenge that you give them, they actually, I think they enjoy it. They kind of one up each other.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Monsters, Inc., I think came out November 2nd, 2001. I love Pixar. So I want to ask, when you're working on an animated feature, sometimes you don't even get to see what your character looks like until way into the process. So for the two of you, when did you finally get to see what Olga looks like, what Elio looks like?
Okay, I think the first time I saw a finished Elio was probably D23, the 2023. And I was on stage and kind of looking back, because I didn't also see it before. So I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of cool. Oh hey, it's me guys. And I kind of had an image in my head, kind of what Elio looked like, and it was very similar. He has such wide eyes and a great big imagination, and that's what I love about him. When I saw him, I'm like, wow, that all makes sense.
What about you, Zoe?
Olga looks so smart. I was really excited about that. I also found it quite beautiful that they are a brown family, and that and you can tell that they are children of immigrants with wild dreams and great expectations, and Olga, you can tell, is living that and trying to bestow that now to her nephew, who she has to mother now for the rest of their lives. And it doesn't go past me. And sometimes you accept moments or opportunities in your life not knowing that they're going to be very significant to something that we may be facing today as a nation, as Americans. So I think now more than ever, this Dominican-Mexican family, I want to thank Pixar for continuously being so inclusive, and also bringing that kind of inclusive mind to younger audiences. It was so important.
I was prepping, and I'd seen the film twice already. I was like, boy, this is like totally the movie we need right now. And like, why is this like beyond the obvious? Why is this like a movie for everyone that we need right now?
Yeah, I think this movie is about themes that our parents and our grandparents have told us, right? You don't judge a book by its cover. Friendship is in it everywhere, from the least expected place you might, from people or aliens that are different than you, and we're all better when we work together. And these are themes that resonate more than ever, and it's about connecting, reaching out to that person or that crazy super who looks different than you, because even though you doesn't have eyes, might be the person that sees you truly are. So universal.
How about for you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just feel like it's just such an honor to have worked on and to help create a movie about connection, about us all coming together in some way. Like one of my favorite moments in the movie is at the very end. When the Carl Sagan quote comes back, and everybody on Earth is like looking up at the sky and taking it in the universe. I just feel like this movie could be a message of hope, and that like space could be a symbol of connection and hope, because no matter where you are on Earth, you look up at the sky at night, and you're all kind of like looking at the same sky together. We can all experience the wonders of space together, and in a world that feels increasingly more and more divided, it's like, dang, like if we can all kind of experience and feel the same things at once, like that's everything,
You as an actor, what was the biggest thing you learned making this film, working with these filmmakers?
Working with the filmmakers it's so great to see, and you really appreciate how a lot more how an animated film is made, because there's so much work that's being put into it. And I mean, even I didn't realize at first like how much time and effort it takes. And it takes time and effort for any movie, but especially a Pixar movie. And like Elio, I mean, this universe, you've never seen anything like it. And these aliens, you've never seen anything like it. And to have these original ideas is very impressive and inspiring to me as well. But I think what I learned from the movies, just like Elio, I mean, to be yourself at all times. And never change who you are.
There you go, that's a great message. How about you, first feature as director? What was the big takeaway for you?
I think for me, I learned to trust the people around me a lot more. I actually started off, and probably still have a little bit of this in me, a little bit more like Olga, or I am a little bit uptight, like my hair tight, I like to know where everything is. I like to be in control of the situation, but what I learned as a director is that you're never going to be in control of what's going on around you. And that's part of the fun, is that you have this amazing crew behind you who you can trust. So when something crazy is happening, you have someone you can lean over to and be like, what is happening? and you form this bond that, that person gets where you're trying to go, and you've had time to talk to them one-on-one. So I think for me, that was the biggest lesson I had to learn, was that it didn't all have to come from me, that I could lean back, and there are people, that have done this hundreds of times before.
And Rob, for you, your first animated feature, first time at Pixar, all the films you've done, there must have been like a big new takeaway after work on a film like this.
That's going to be a long time before you see what something looks like. So you have to use your musical imagination. But I think what was clear to me about this group, about this film, and something that I always aspire to, is what comes from the heart reaches the heart. And I think that's really the through line of this.
Last question for you, how proud are you of Snoop?
Oh my gosh, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of everybody here. I'm so proud of the entire crew. I just feel like we accomplished just this impossible kind of task, and everybody killed it. And in making a movie about connection, I feel so much more connected to my fellow Pixarians and Pixar friends than ever.
Okay, so a couple of announcements. So first announcement, if you could all please stay seated while we exit, that would really help us out a lot. We would really appreciate that. Second announcement, again, Elio opens on Friday, June 20th. That's a week from Friday. So now that you've seen this movie, we have a full capacity house here at the Chinese Theater. So you're going to spread the word. How do you do that? You go on social media. So, go on Facebook, go on Instagram, go on TikTok. You're in the back, you're still using, X, knock yourself out. But spread the word about Elio. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
For